DeVonta Smith held his annual softball game yesterday, and he went out there and he just killed it. But he also held a press conference, and in it, he might have given us the best insight yet on Nick Sirianni. Dallas still stinks. Yo, by the way, King Dingbat here. You know, there's been so much talk about Nick Sirianni and how bad it's going to go with him or it's going to be with him. Has any of us considered the fact that this actually might work? That the Eagles did the right thing by keeping him, and maybe, just maybe, this is what the players wanted, this is what the front office wanted, and maybe now it's going to work. After hearing DeVonta Smith speak on Nick Sirianni at his softball game, I've got to wonder if it's going to be true. Now, we're going to get into it in a second, but before we do that, I got to talk about this. Now, you know I love this. You know this is like my favorite thing. Adam Schefter wrote this: Eagles will wear their Kelly Green throwback uniforms versus the Jaguars in Week 9 and versus the Cowboys in Week 7. And yes, they will. They will wear it versus the Jags and the Cowboys. Now, as far as the Jags game goes, it's like, okay, yeah. But Week 17 versus the Dallas Cowboys, now you're talking. Now you're talking, okay? That's what I want to see. That is going to be like living back in the 90s and the late 80s, man, watching that. I love it that Kelly Green's back, and we knew it was going to be back, and we knew. I wish that the other one wouldn't have been the Jaguars, and it would have been another NFC East team or a big rival or a good NFC team. But I'll take what we're getting here: Jaguars and then the Dallas Cowboys. I love it. I hope it's to clinch everything versus the Cowboys in that Kelly Green. Now, we're 2-0 in Kelly Green since it's been back. We won both games last year, and I expect nothing but wins again this year. I mean, why wouldn't I expect wins? You see what's going on with the Dallas Cowboys? It's so funny to me, right? And I'll say this really quick, and then I want to say something else about the Kelly Green, but here's the thing. Mark Holmes runs his mouth, right? He runs his mouth. He does all these videos on Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni situation and all this. And it's like he jinxes it. He jinxes his own team because now you've got issues with Jerry Jones and the head coach, Mike McCarthy. And now you've got Malik Hooker and what's his face? Micah Parsons going at it. Malik Hooker's taking shots at him, saying he wishes that Micah Parsons played the run like he worries about his podcast. So they've got complete and utter dysfunction going. It's just a matter of time before future Eagle Micah Parsons is an Eagle. I think it's absolutely hilarious. And I blame Mark Holmes for it, because as soon as he started running his mouth, of course, the chaos starts with the Dallas Cowboys. You have to absolutely love it. As far as our Eagles go, listen, I think there's been a lot of nonsense about the Nick Sirianni and the Jalen Hurts quotes. I think it's a lot of blown up stuff that the Eagles reacted bad to. I don't think it's as bad as people think. As far as the Kelly Green goes, Week 9, Week 17, we'll be wearing it. And I should say this, too. They're only wearing it twice. They can wear it up to 3 times in a year, okay? They're only wearing it twice, which means one thing. They're going to be wearing their black jerseys and black helmets this year. Because remember, this year you can wear 3 helmets. So you can wear 3 helmets. I expect the Eagles to wear the black helmets with the black jerseys one time this year. And I'm totally okay with that. But the time is coming. The time is coming where we need this back full time. The time is coming where we need the white helmets back for away games, and then black and Kelly Green for alternate jerseys. That's what we need. That's what I hope we do at some point. But I'm very happy that, I don't even know why this was a question. Why anybody thinks that they're not going to be bringing these back every year for at least twice a year. They're going to. It's too much of a moneymaker. Too much of a moneymaker. Just look at the stadiums all last year. It's all Kelly Green. Even watching DeVonta Smith's softball game, over half the stadium's Kelly Green. Kelly Green is where it's at. They want to make money. They want to make as much as they can off their merchandise. Then guess what? They're gonna have to bring up the Kelly Green. And you know what? I think they will. So very happy to see the Kelly Green is back. No doubt about it. Now, as I was saying, you had DeVonta Smith held his charity softball game yesterday. I know there are a lot of people there, a lot of Eagles YouTubers. Shout out to them. It looked like a fun time. I wish I could have been there, but I'm very friggin' far away, so it's kind of hard to go. And I ain't getting on no Boeing, having no wings fall off and doors open up and whatever. God knows what happens to these planes anymore. Scares the hell out of me. I have to drive wherever I go. So I couldn't make it. But it was interesting because, before, they did everything, DeVonta Smith held the press conference, and he talked about Nick Sirianni, but I thought what he said about Nick Sirianni really gave us probably the most insight that we've had yet from player on Nick Sirianni, what happened to him last year, and how the players viewed it. I think a lot of the players, if you listen to Jalen Hurts speak at the end of the year, if you listen to Fletcher Cox, I know he retired, Kelsey retired, but they spoke about it. Even A.J. Brown spoke about it. They all like Nick Sirianni. They all seem to go to bat for Nick Sirianni. Where the whole confusion and where all the problems were, I don't necessarily think it was that they didn't like Nick Sirianni. I think it was that Nick Sirianni missed a lot of things that was going on with the offensive defensive coordinator, okay? Here is what DeVonta Smith said at his press conference before the softball game that I thought was really, really interesting and really telling. Okay, so here is what DeVonta Smith said when asked about Nick Sirianni and his new role as a head coach. This is what he said, quote, "Like he said, it gives him time to do a lot more, to see a lot more, and I think that's a good thing," said Smith. "When the head man has the power to put his hands on everything, to see everything, it makes it easier on himself, it makes it easier on us, because sometimes that we may see, he may not see, because he was focused on something, on just one thing so much. But for him to be able to look over everything now, it's like, okay, he's not blind with something now. Now we can talk to him because he knows what's going on with everything." That is the most telling thing about last year and what went on with Nick Sirianni. Here's what happened. This is what I think. There were issues with the offensive defensive coordinator. Players went to those guys. They said things like, we got to do this, we got to do that. The coordinators didn't really listen to them. This is why A.J. Brown was like, "I'm not saying anything anymore, I'm done." And kind of just shut down because they weren't saying anything. And Nick Sirianni, being that he was focusing on one thing or the other, couldn't really feel like he could take a side or get engaged because he didn't know what was going on, maybe the defensive side of the ball. Maybe he didn't know what was going on or what the receivers were feeling. And then when they would go talk to him, he didn't feel like he knew enough about what was going on to speak to the coordinators. So this makes sense. You get rid of all the coordinators, you let the coach be just the manager and oversee everything, and then you go out there and you let these players play. This is why the players didn't want him gone. I mean, people could say what they want about Jalen Hurts and stuff, but Jalen didn't say that, Jalen said this. I don't think Jalen Hurts ever meant to say anything against Nick Sirianni. I really don't. I just think it came out wrong, and I think that the team reacted wrong to it, the front office. But when you hear DeVonta Smith and what he's saying is that we went to Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni didn't see what we saw. He couldn't speak up about it or couldn't say anything, maybe the coordinators, because he felt like he didn't know enough about the situation. That's what he's saying. He's saying now he's overseeing everything and he can be a mediator and he'll see what we see and it shouldn't be a problem. So this makes sense to me on some level why the Eagles said, you know what? We just need Nick to have a slightly different role and keep him. We think so much, and including myself, I include myself in this 100%. But we think so much about Nick failing and oh my gosh, if it goes bad, or if this happens, or if that happens, and we think about the bad thing. What if it works? What if this is the adjustment Nick Sirianni needs to be a good coach? There are plenty of coaches out there that don't call their plays or aren't the coordinators as well. You have Harbaugh in Baltimore, Tomlin in Pittsburgh, and they do a great job. So maybe, just maybe, this is not a bad thing. Now, I still have my worries and my concerns about Nick Sirianni and when things go bad. But I see in DeVonta Smith's statement, it makes a lot more sense to me than ever before. Because what he's saying is, Nick Sirianni wasn't the problem, or the problem was more he couldn't see what we were seeing because he was worrying about and doing other things because he had too much on his plate. So this is something very interesting and very telling, and we'll see how much things change, because if things don't change and they have the same issues as they did last year, it's not the coordinator's fault. The coordinators have been replaced. A lot of coaches have been replaced. It's the head coach fault and the players, and we'll see if it changes. But hearing DeVonta Smith talk about this actually makes me feel pretty good about the situation and why the Eagles did what they did. Just something to keep in mind. With that said, take care. Talk to you later. Of course, don't be a dingbat, and remember, it's how we vision, baby. We're all just living in it. How about Isaiah Rodgers goes out there and wins the home run derby in the DeVonta Smith softball game? How about that? I'll tell you what. On every level, the guy continues to impress. He really does. And you gotta love it. There is no way that I can close my eyes and think that Isaiah Rodgers is not going to be some factor with this team. It just looks like that's the way it's going to be. And the Eagles are going to have to find out and figure out how to keep him long term when it's all said and done. I truly believe he is going to have a really good year. With that said, Denzel Washington out.
Hi, Michael Anthony Fitness here, MAF.